Welcome back to Momarchy. Hello, everyone. For those joining us, we are recording this the day after the State of the Union. So, hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are we doing? I will be honest, I didn't make it through the entire 1 hour and 48-minute speech last night, which was the longest State of the Union speech ever in history. I made it through about 30 minutes and then I just watched some clips this morning. It was a lot. I don't know, Tanya, what your initial reactions are, but it was a lot.
I watched none of it because,
Good for mental health.
yeah, honestly, yes, because it's infuriating, which sucks because State of the Union, I feel, used to be something that at least was interesting to watch. And like, even if it was like George Bush, I guess that's the last Republican that I would watch State of the Unions from, but somebody talking and you disagreeing with stuff, you'd be like, like, but you wouldn't necessarily think that's just a straight up lie. And now it's just all so performative because he's just a performative man. Like, this is a show.
Yeah, he's a reality TV star, so that's his shtick. We shouldn't expect anything different. It was many lies and embellishments. At one point, he said that mortgage rates have been the lowest they've been in 20 years, and I'm like, "Huh, that's definitely not true." And there was, like, a lot of other things about the economy and costs that definitely I have not felt, so I'm sure other people haven't. I know we are gonna actually our next episode, we're going to do a Monarchy State of the Union, so get ready for that so we can kind of dive into this a little bit more, but I will say the peak part, because this is what's, like, the hot goss that's happening online right now, is the US men's hockey team, and he, like, marched them in, and they're all standing there, and then he announces that he's giving the Medal of Freedom to the goalie, which is, like, the highest recognition for a civilian. A day after, there's many videos of them that have come forward of them in a strip club in Miami, and then the day prior to that is the video of them reacting to Donald Trump's phone call where they're laughing at the women's hockey team. Like, this is where we are. So I would say I was already just peak mad, and then they, like, marched them in, and I was like, "I don't think I can get through this," and I was using a lot of swear words, and my son was still up, and my husband was like, "Stop swearing." I'm like, "Then we're turning it off because I cannot watch this anymore."
Yeah. One, I forgot that I have a little Trump that blurb. So that for later. But in terms of the hockey team, I mean, it is. It's infuriating. And I mean, we talked about this before. Like, I love hockey. Hockey is my favorite sport. That was an amazing game. And they just ruined it. Like, that memory now sucks. And you can't talk about the hockey game without that coming up. And, like, that's not me slash everybody, quote, unquote, "making it political." Like, that's just the reality. You had the director of the FBI, for some reason, in the locker room chugging beer and champagne with the president on the phone and a group of guys laughing about another American team winning gold because they're women. It's not surprising. Cameras are there. I'm sure that it happens 1,000 times a day and we don't see it on camera, but, like, what a disappointing thing where it was a moment that people could have stood up. That's the thing, is that it's not surprising, it happens all the time. It could have been a really transformative moment and a moment for somebody to, like, be a hero, and they just didn't take it. They'd rather get the cheap hits and go get a bullshit Medal of Honor.
When someone tells them who they are, fucking believe them. And this was a perfect example of that. Because as you said, Tanya, it has been, what, 3 days since these clips have surfaced online, and not one of the US men hockey players has come out and said, "I'm embarrassed by what has come out online, and I'm like, so sorry, and this is I was not part of it, or I was there, but I didn't mean to, like, I didn't feel this way." Not one. Not one. In fact, several of them have doubled down on the fact that they felt so honored to talk to the president of the United States, and that there is no reaction or apology for laughing at their women colleagues who also just won gold and, quite frankly, are a lot more fucking decorated with Olympic medals than they are. So it's just like so crazy. For pardon my reaction today, we were going to play the Kash Patel video. Are we ready?
We're ready. Here we go. Jesus Christ. Oh. I can't. Gosh, Patel is so he just has
Cringe.
pick me energy. Like he is. I think that it's so cringe. It's so
It,
cringe.
what? Okay.
It's just you feel awkward and embarrassed. You're like, "Oh, no, he's trying to fit in." And, like, that's not how you should feel about the director of the FBI.
This is the thing. He's acting like a fucking frat bro. He is the director of the FBI for the United States of America. It would be one thing if he attended the event, he went into the locker room, he said congratulations, he did the phone thing. That's a whole other story and issue. But he like called Donald Trump on his phone and they can fine. But like, no, he went so much farther than that. He is like going like this in the air, fists in the air, smacking the table, chugging a beer. Like, he is disgusting. And not to mention, obviously, like, not qualified. Oh, also, Nancy Guthrie is still missing. So we have a fucking kidnapper out there.
Oh, and the Epstein files.
And the Epstein files are happening. He's chugging beers in a locker room with a bunch of, like, pretty hammered,
Douchey guys.
douchey guys. Like, maybe not appropriate.
Yeah, here's the thing. After that game, they deserve to celebrate. They deserve to celebrate. One, I don't know why Kash Patel is trying to be a part of it. So, like, remove him from this equation because he's just gross and a weirdo and should be working. You should be working, Kash Patel. Like, get back to work.
Get back to work. Get back to work.
Kash, we need you. No, we don't. We
No,
don't
we
need
don't,
you.
because he's
Kash.
probably not doing anything.
No,
But
he's
it's
not. Anyways, one day we'll just have like an hour ranting about how useless Kash Patel is.
all of them. They're all fucking useless.
They're all useless. But they're also dancing to the song by Toby Keith, brought to you like courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. That was a song that came out after 9/11, and it was like a MAGA song during his first term. And it's like a big, like, we're gonna fight you, we're America. And like, I remember in 2001 or 2002, whenever it came out, I loved it as like a middle schooler and super into country and like, yeah, like we're gonna America number one. But like, that's a weird song to celebrate with. There are a lot of celebratory songs. Don't make it one from a campaign.
Again, like someone tells you who they are, believe them. These men have shown us and told us who they are. Meanwhile, the women's hockey team, who won gold in overtime against Canada 3 days prior to the men winning, declined going to the State of the Union in the White House. Bravo to them. Amazing. Their captain, Hillary, she was the person who scored the winning goal. She broke the record for the amount of goals scored by a hockey player ever in the Olympics. So she is actually like, by the numbers, better than all of those men.
Yeah.
So they can just go off and make their $10 million a year, and I never want to hear from them ever again.
Oh, God. But we always will because he's made this them. Like, this is not You're not gonna have a cool movie like Miracle out of this. It's gonna be just a movie about Donald Trump.
Tough time.
Anyways, that sucks. Happened. That really sucks. He takes everything. He takes everything good from us, including this team moment. But again, to clarify, the men could have stepped up, and these aren't just boys being boys. Like these are professional hockey players.
I know, this is the thing. Like, also the locker room talk, boys being boys, these are I looked it up, I went on a rabbit hole. These men are making some of them are making $15 million a year. They have kids, they have significant others. Like, step up, be a leader, be a you wanna talk about being a man? Like, be a man in this situation, but they have proven that they will not do that. So, we were hoping in light of all of this, it is still Women's History Month, and we're still reeling from the Olympics being over, and we're very sad about it because it just felt like something that you didn't have to think about politics. So we thought we could share a few facts about women's participation in the Olympic Games over time in history and share truly how far women have come in Olympic sports.
Yeah. So at the beginning, the first modern Olympics, 1896, women were not allowed to compete. Surprising.
Shocker.
Really shocking there. The founder of the modern games opposed their participation. And so the first time that women competed was at the 1900 Paris Olympics. 22 women participated in events like tennis, golf, sailing, croquet, and the equestrian sports. And they made up only 2.2% of the athletes at this game.
So what's really interesting is from 1900 to now, and we'll get there, you will see over time that more women were added to sports over time. So, for instance, in 1928, track and field and gymnastics for women were introduced at the Amsterdam Olympics. And then throughout the mid 20th century, women gradually gained access to more sports. So, it seemed like every Olympics there was like another sport that women were included, allowed to play in. So, this has, like, really, I think, reflected the changing attitudes about women in sports over time, but it definitely took some time to get to gender parity.
In fact, it took really until London 2012 that women were 44% of the athletes. The Paris Olympics, roughly 50% of the athletes were men and women. And essentially, women's events have expanded across all sports.
But what's really crazy about this is it's, like, over 100 years. It took over 100 years for women to be, quote, unquote, "equal," right? But the other thing that just going back to the men's hockey team is, like, even though the sheer number of women participating in the Olympics is equal, many women, and we can get into this in a actually in another episode because I think this would be really interesting to talk about, is, like, women are just not paid like men are. So you have, obviously, the women's soccer team, everything that happened with them, basketball, right? Like, these hockey players, these men hockey players making tens of millions of dollars a year, the women hockey players that play professionally do not make the same at all. So this is just like an ongoing issue where women are continuously like not treated fairly in athletics.
And people always make the argument of, which I understand to an extent, honestly, of the amount of money that something like the NHL brings in, like a professional male hockey player. But we see with the women's soccer team that, like, it wasn't about the amount of money that they were bringing in. Like, that was just pure sexism and not respecting a woman's athleticism, the amount of work that they put in, like the lifelong dedication to winning. 8 out of 12 of the gold medals for the US were won by women. Like, without women, the US would have only had 4 gold medals.
Yeah. Like, actually, like, that is the pin in this that I wanna leave, is that despite the despicable, disgusting behavior by the US men's Olympic hockey team, 8 out of the 12 gold medals, like Tanya said, that were brought home to the United States by United States athletes were women. Were women. So, like, take that. That makes it all make sense for me.
And next generation of hockey players, if you're raising a hockey player, please make them better because I really, really like the sport and I want to love it, but it spoils it. Like this just it poisons it when this is the undertone.
And can't go an episode without talking about heated rivalry, but, like, at a time when hockey is probably, like, more people are watching. Actually, I don't know the stats on this, but I'd be interested to find out, is, like, probably more people ever are watching hockey because of heated rivalry, because of the show, and, like, that show and the book series highlighted the misogynistic behavior that we find in men's sports, in particular hockey, but in men's sports, and then this happens. And it's like, well, of course no one wants to come out if they're gay. Like, can you imagine coming out in that locker room with Cash Patel going woof 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 woof? Like that you that is insane. Anyway, I'm not mad about those guys.
Oh my God. I forgot about Cash Patel and now he's back.
I already forgot. Sorry.
We already forgot about Cash Patel. That's the thing. He's forgettable. One day we'll all just like all together forget about Cash Patel and he'll show up in somebody's locker room and they'll be like, "What are you doing here?" Anyways, we have a very exciting guest with us today, especially after the State of the Union last night. So today we are talking with U.S. Congresswoman Janelle Bynum. Janelle represents Oregon's 5th congressional district. She was elected in 2024 and she flipped the district from red to blue, and the Dems regained a really key swing state.
Janelle is a former small business owner, an engineer, a longtime public servant. She previously served in the Oregon state legislature. We will find out a little bit more in the episode. She did that while raising 4 tiny little humans. So shout out to her or any parent that is raising humans while serving as an elected official. But she built a reputation as a pragmatic problem solver focused on lowering costs for families, expanding economic opportunity, and protecting fundamental rights.
Rep. Bynum is the first Black member of Congress from Oregon and a strong advocate for working families, reproductive freedom, and a fair economy. She is currently in Oregon, as Sarah said, with her 4 children. She is able to do all of this. So we're going to get into how to flip a red seat blue from her. She's going to help us make sense of some things, and we're going to go through a DGAF Mom segment. So before we get into it, be sure to subscribe, like, share. Again, so important. Really, really helps us if you download this. It helps people follow the pod and find us at Momarchy Podcast on YouTube and Instagram.
So grab your Nespresso. I've been really into the Nespressos. All their Christmas ones are super cheap on Amazon right now. So if you have an Nespresso, go get them. Not an ad. Grab your LaCroix, your tap water, whatever is getting you through the day or the week or the night. And let's get into it.
Hi, Congresswoman Bynum. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. For those who are listening, this is the day/morning after the State of the Union. So how are you doing? Know that you were up very early.
It was a late night, and then I was up early this morning to do another, like, a TV hit, and, it's been a long, long, long week, and it's only Wednesday.
It is. It is only Wednesday, and I was watching the State of the Union last night, and it was late your time. Like, it was one of it was the longest State of the Union in history, running, like, almost 2 hours, right?
Right. I mean, it's funny, I didn't have perspective on how long it should have been. I was guessing it was gonna be 2 to 3 hours, and I grew up in the Black church, and so service goes from, like, 11 to 1:30, so I was kinda tempered for it, and, it was tough. It was tough because it's, like, past my bedtime to be up listening to politics, but, we made it.
We made it. And we'll definitely get into State of the Union details in the interview in a little bit. But first, we want to get to know you a little bit more. So usually we do our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Eggs or cereal in the morning?
Oh, hot eggs.
Last TV show you binged?
I'm a Monday Night Football kinda gal, and I've gotten into the idea of Bridgerton. Like, I like to throw parties, so, a Bridgerton party is on my list of things to do, so I think I should watch the show to get the spirit of it.
Perfect. That would be a fun party. That's a good theme.
Right?
Yeah. A song you always turn up in the car.
Bad and bougie.
I love that.
Your ideal mom alone hour, nap, scroll, Target run, something else.
We under Target, eating popcorn while napping. So doing like my kids do and eating in the bed. Well, semi-napping and scrolling and listening to music.
I love that. Usually when I'm alone, I like to do Olivia Pope style popcorn and wine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's actually wait, Sarah, that's funny that you say that because anytime I have red wine, I think of Olivia Pope, but her wine glasses were far nicer than mine. And I'm like, it's fine that I'm drinking red wine right now. Olivia Pope did it all the time.
I could never finish anything. Like, it takes me if I drink a little of something, it takes me probably, like, a week to finish it. So my husband and kids are used to seeing, like, a bottle dwindling in the refrigerator, but never at once.
Very fair. What has been the hardest age to parent so far?
I'm not a toddler girly. I don't like taking kids to the bathroom, and because I'm kind of a germaphobe, and, they're, like, half potty trained at that point, so I do not like toddlers.
And you have 4 kids, so you've been through it 4 times.
And I love adult children, like, my kids who are 21 and 25, I love being their mom because they can talk and they can if they'll talk, they can tell you what's on their minds, and then they're also forward enough with me that they can tell me if they feel like I'm crashing out, so they're pretty honest.
We love that. I would say my 3.5-year-old is very honest with me, and he's only 3.5, and it's like, he'll just tell you how it is.
Yeah, they will shatter egos at that age. The older ones won't. They'll kind of correct you, but they won't go for your ego like a 3-year-old will.
Yes, very true. Okay, a text or a call?
A call.
We love that.
A call. Yeah.
Okay, last one, Congresswoman. Shoes on in the house or absolutely not?
I'm not a purist on that. We take our shoes off, but if you're coming in real fast and running out, like I am not a person that treats my home as a castle. I treat it as like a place of love. And so I think it should be messy. If my kitchen gets messy, that means something good happened in it. And so, yeah, and we have like white carpet. So I just feel like you should come in and be comfortable. It should be your safe haven.
I love that.
That's great. Yeah. I love that too. And makes a lot of sense for somebody who has 4 kids and is realistic.
Right. Like if I valued everything in my house, those kids would tear it up.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time that now is not the time for nice things. That like one day we'll have nice furniture, but for now we don't want to get a Restoration Hardware couch.
You could have nice things. You just might have to replace them more often. And I think kids should learn how to live with nice things and not destroy them. But I've had a white sofa for 20 years. I probably need to replace it.
It's very brave of you.
It is. But I buy Lazy Boy. Shout out to Lazy Boy. Their fabrics are durable and we haven't had any problems.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for going through that with us. We'd love to get to know you outside of the office, outside of politics. And before we get into campaign State of the Union, flipping a red district blue, we want to know a little bit more about yourself. So, how did you end up getting into politics, and what was it like serving in the state legislature and now Congress while raising 4 kids?
Yeah, my kids were little. It was 2016 when I first started. So whatever that is, 10 years ago. So I had a teenager and I had a kindergartner. I got in because my older kids at the time they were always coming home saying they didn't have school the next day or the next week. And so our state budget was pinching our state education system. So I started advocating for like a full school year, and that was a non-negotiable for me. And then my husband and I have a restaurant business, and we were also seeing the kids that were coming through, and we wanted to make sure that what the workforce was seeing was actually a good product from the school. So that's kind of how I got in, and I ran in a very tough district. But I ran, I felt like I could do it because the person before me ran as a pregnant mom. And I remember seeing the commercial, looking at her like, she looks pregnant. And she ran the hell out of that campaign. And I always thought if she could run pregnant, then I could run with 4 kids. And so I've always centered education, always centered family, always centered like family friendly policies. And the most ironic thing is that when I first entered the legislature, we were passing all of these family friendly policies like paid time off. And my husband was saying, "Well, are you gonna get that working in the legislature?" And no, I wasn't. "Are we gonna get, 2 weeks notice on our schedule?" No. And so it was particularly frustrating for him as the spouse that was helping to, fill in, for me at home, that we weren't getting that same treatment, but it was still important for me to advocate for those things.
What do Democrats often get wrong when they're trying to win in swing districts? Obviously, your race in 2024 got national attention, right? It was one of the closest races. You flipped this red seat blue. Democrats are looking to do this to be able to take back the House, as you very much know. So, what have we gotten wrong, and what do we need to do differently this year?
Well, lose the purity test, right? So, I mean, I'm a Black woman in Oregon, and in many ways, like, family is very, very important to me. Like, a nuclear family is a thing, right? And if you try to talk about a family in any other way, sometimes people will, you like, you have to have this. And I'm a very inclusive person, but the way my family is constructed, it means something to me. And if it doesn't look that same way to other people who are purists, they can have a problem with that. The other thing I think is a shortcoming is that we have to tie our policies to economic outcomes. Social justice can take many forms, but economic justice to me is the number one thing. If I can't feed my kids, if I can't afford daycare, if I can't put gas in the car, if I can't get access to good health care, then you can't talk to me. Like, I have nothing to talk to you about because I am fighting for my survival. And so I've always tried to center the things that bring us together rather than the things that are divisive. So I listened to the president last night, and I am always looking like he's not my guy. I didn't vote for him. His politics are a little distasteful for me. But I was looking for things where we could bring the American people together, we could fight on their behalf. So when he started talking about drug transparency, I think that's a good thing. When he started talking about young people being able to buy a house and not having to compete with institutional investors, I think that's a good thing. So that's how I've always run my campaigns, is just focusing on the meat of the issues rather than on the fringes.
Was there a moment that you knew when you were deciding to run it for Congress that, yeah, I can do this. Like, this is winnable. I can flip this seat. I'm sure there was many people that said, I don't know. Do you want to run for Congress? Do you think you can win it?
I was recruited. The person that had this seat before me, I had beaten her twice before for the state ledge seat. And it was a much different fight, I will say. But in general, I'm a very competitive person, and I don't get in fights I don't think I can win. And so once I'm committed to it, I'm 100% committed to it. And I think having run the really tough state races 4 times before helped me like gear up like an infrastructure, a mindset to make sure that I would be successful.
We have a lot of work to do to flip the house. So, what do you think the map looks like? Do you think that there is a chance that we're going to be able to flip the house from red to blue?
Well, I think what needs to happen is elected officials and people who want to serve in these positions really need to get back to the basics of what Americans are telling them is important. And as I mentioned before, like being able to afford housing, being able to afford groceries. I don't know what your grocery bill looks like, but I know every time I fill a bag at the grocery store, it's $100. And it doesn't matter what I put in there. I could put toilet cleaner, a bar of soap, a pack of ground beef, and maybe some bananas. And I can guarantee you it's coming close to $100. And then when you think about the older ones are 21 and 24, the idea that they really, right now, there's no guarantee that they would be able to fully move out on their own within, 2 years of finishing school. Like that's a pretty hard venture right now. And so I think in terms of what may happen to the balance of the politics here, those candidates that can, well, those people who can articulate the message of the people will shift the balance here. And I also think, here's one more thought. I think we're getting back to people wanting to live in community, and anyone who feels like they can other someone for their advantage is going to be at a disadvantage.
I think, well, first of all, I want to go back to the cost piece and economic justice, because we talk a lot about that on the pod, that and especially as young women, we both have young kids, and I live in rural Colorado. Like, I am struggling to pay my childcare bill every month and mortgage. And as you said, I do not go to the grocery store without spending $100. And I have 2 kids and my husband. So there's 4 of us. And if I'm feeling like this, that everyone, and we're both political consultants, like, I'm feeling like you're feeling like this, like, everyone is feeling like this. And so when we hear the State of the Union and we hear Donald Trump say this is the economic golden age or whatever he said, like, we're not feeling that. And this was our same problem with, I think, Joe Biden, right? We're like, if someone is not feeling it, it it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what someone is telling you.
So let me make a quick point on that. Where I think actually both of them have been is this aspirational stage. As an elected person, I can be optimistic, but my rhetoric can't be aspirational without some real emotional tie to the outcome and reality. And I think of the reality check that the nation is getting right now is that there really are two Americas. There's an America that is doing very well. There are people prospering. There are people who are making a lot of money in their stock portfolios. It's bolstering them, it's allowing them to take risks. They are happy. And I know this because they tell me this on the phone. But what they also will tell me is that I'm troubled about the future that I see for my kids and my grandkids. And that to me is the essence of what is going to take place as we look at the next round of elected officials coming through the House of Representatives as well as the Senate.
Yeah.
So when you talk to your kids, are they all voting age now?
2 of them are.
Okay. Okay. So when you have your conversation with them, I think that Sarah and I are trying to figure out as moms when our kids are starting to understand what's happening in the world. I only have a 15-month-old, so luckily she doesn't
Oh.
know yet. And yeah, she's just going around. But you're right, toddlers are really gross. So I each day is a test of like how much I love her. And it's a lot, it turns out.
I hate that I admitted that. That is a very intimate secret of mine that I'm not think I love mom. Anyway, go ahead.
We get real on this podcast, Congresswoman, so it's okay.
We've admitted some really horrible things. Um, but anyways, when you talk to your children about voting, about what matters, I think that something that we discuss all the time is how do we have these hard conversations with our kids? And like the best thing that we can do, right, as moms is raise a generation that cares, that's empathetic, and also that are smart and strategic. And it's not, the people that are online and just like social warriors and showing up at a protest and voting, having a protest vote for Jill Stein, right? So, what do you say as a mom to, I guess, the next generation?
Well, so one of the reasons I went to the State of the Union last night was because I have this very firm principled belief. And it is that you should be able to listen to people with whom you disagree, especially if you are a lawmaker. And I went with the intent of hearing the president out. Again, not my guy, don't agree with him on many things. But there's also this idea of you can agree on the what and disagree on the how. And so we can agree, for instance, that I don't know, we can agree that everyone should be able to buy their first home by 26. And some people will say, well, we should give them $200,000 as soon as they turn 18 and let them invest it, and then they can have their down payment. And other people will say, well, they can live in government housing and they can buy it from there, right? So you can agree on the what and disagree on the how. And I think for young voters and young people in general, if they develop that muscle of being able to listen and kind of discern and make a decision for themselves, and then pride themselves on making that decision without anyone else's influence and without trying to seek glory for their decision. Because some people are like keyboard warriors and they're like, oh, I donated to, I don't know, Planned Parenthood. Look at me. And it's like, that's not what this is about. This is about your principles. This is about you voting. It's a very intimate experience, but it's also a very powerful experience. And my final thought on that is if you don't know how to vote, and you've sat out of elections, vote on one thing. Just go in the at the ballot box, the voting booth, and vote on one thing. And then the next time, vote on two things. And then the next time, vote on three things. Because nobody knows that you didn't fill out that whole ballot. I mean, we do kind of count, but nobody knows it was you. And so that way, you won't relinquish your vote to other people because you feel like you might get it wrong, so you don't do anything. And that, I think, is kind of a gateway for people to get more engaged and not feel any guilt, but also to take hold of their own power.
That's great. Could Thank you for that insight. I think it's so important, especially for our listeners. Like, this is a constant struggle that we hear. We have folks from across the aisle listen to us, a lot of independents, Democrats, of course. And I think everyone is struggling with, like, how do you talk about this stuff with your kids? It feels so chaotic and confusing. So thank you. So we want to go into one of our favorite segments called Make It Make Sense, because there's a lot of things in the world right now, not just politics, but a lot in politics and your work, that it's hard to make sense of. So we know you just sat through the 2 hour State of the Union last night. So we're hoping you can help us make sense of what's going on. So would love for you to just start out by saying, what is your honest reaction to Trump's first year being back in power? Obviously, you came to Congress not when you were not in Congress in his first term. So what is, how does it feel?
I remember the line that he said, oh, what a difference a president makes. And I was like, I'm not a super, like, showy person, like, I wouldn't be like, my colleagues who were sparring back and forth with him, but I wanted to yell out, "Oh, hell yeah, you are so right. We are at a much different place." We're at a much different place, and I don't see a lot of benefits for the majority of Americans. That's how I would say his first year has been.
So on that, why going back to the economy, because I think this is like we could talk about this all day, is how do you make sense of the administration saying that everything feels good when it doesn't?
Because to some people it does. To some people it does. If you think about it, I mean, this is super nerdy federal policy, but when the Fed, which everybody kind of understands the Fed, even if they don't know what they do, when the Fed, when President Trump went after one of the Fed governors, Lisa Cook, there weren't a lot of people that came to her defense. And he basically wanted to fire her and he wanted to say, hey, I can do whatever I want to do and she got to go. But then when he attacked Jerome Powell, the older, genteel white male, and I'm making a distinction. Lisa Cook is a black woman. I'm making a distinction for a purpose here. When he attacked him, Jerome Powell's bros came out of nowhere. And they said, you will not bother him. And the reason is because they understood what it meant to mess with their money, right? And as long as the stock market is doing well, and as long as, you can get a loan anywhere you want, There are people who will defend that, and that gets to them. But for other issues of the economy or buying groceries, those people aren't buying groceries. Somebody else is buying and looking at those costs. Or somebody else is dealing with the lack of access to a healthcare provider within 45 minutes of their house. If you're a pregnant woman, you know exactly what that means. Or if you're, a young family, you know exactly what it means not to have a labor and delivery unit. But me as a 50-year-old woman, that's not in my space anymore. So I don't relate to it. So what he's talking about is his inner circle, which right now, billionaires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is not meant to be a trick question, but are there any areas where the administration is getting something right?
I mean, I think his conversation on drug pricing transparency is a noble one. Now, of course, he has to infect it with, Trump RX. I always say if this job ever becomes about me is that's when I should leave. But yeah, drug pricing transparency is something we as a nation should be talking about. We should be lowering the cost of drugs. However, we should also be making sure that we can invest in research so that we have these life-saving drugs. And the United States is where a lot of that research takes place. It's unfortunate that we're paying the most for drugs throughout the world. But we also need to make sure that we shore up that side of the equation. So I agree with him on that.
Thank you. And that is so important to be able to make that distinction and find those little things, right? We've spoken to people before where we've had that question, or we've said, is there, a member of the Republican Party that you agree with something on? And the answer is just a flat out no. And while obviously we are Democrats and feel a very certain way and feel like there's one party really screwing the pooch here, it's like we're never gonna that automatic no is never going to get us somewhere. So we appreciate that a lot.
I can just tell you though, there's a lot more commonality than people actually are even looking for. Last night I sat kind of in the middle section, and there was a red MAGA hat on a seat 2 seats away from me, and it was something along the lines of it was like MAGA, but it was like making America fun again or great again or something. It was a MAGA hat. And so I asked the guy who was sitting there, and I was like, "So tell me what that means to you." And I didn't judge him, it's not my speed. But he was like, "Oh, well, my staff gave it to me, and, thought it was kind of funny." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so as we continued to talk through the night, first of all, he assumed I didn't like him. I told him I didn't like him after he said that. But over time, he was like, "Oh, now she's starting to like me a little more." Okay. And then he says, "Well, you know what I really care about? I care about homeownership." And I said, "You know what? Me too." And he told me about this incredible bill that he had. And I told him about a very similar bill that I had. And you know what? I think I can sign on to his bill, and I think he can sign on to my bill. And there was that MAGA hat, but I didn't let the MAGA hat stop me from trying to get something that is much better for American families.
Love that anecdote, especially after such a divisive evening the day after.
Yeah, he was going for it the whole night. He was like, "Yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Lord Jesus." But, he may feel that way about my politics, so I let it go at that. And then when we were in the media lines after that, he was like, "I told the story to XYZ news outlet that you and I had a conversation and we got along really well and we could work on something together." And I was like, "Great. That's why I'm here."
That's amazing. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to our final segment here. It's DGAF Mom, hot or not version. Don't give a fuck.
I
for for our other listeners. So welcome. We judge things that affect our kids, our rights, and our sanity. Here's how this works. We're going to say a statement, and then you tell us if it's hot or not. You can just say hot. You can say not. You don't have to explain yourself if you want to. you can.
Okay.
Politicians who do not have kids making laws about parenting.
I don't care.
Moms who vote even when they're exhausted.
That's hot.
Parents' rights laws that actually hurt kids.
No bueno. That is not good.
Bringing your kids to a protest.
That's been really dangerous lately. And I just have a quick anecdote. I talked to Mike Johnson. I found him on the floor now. That's my new friend. And friend. And did I get another thing here? Friend.
She's doing quotations. If you're
Yeah,
listening, that's
air quotes.
happening. Yeah.
And I told him I had 3 points to tell him, and the last one was, "Hey, you know what? You guys can't be gassing kids," because we had that happen in Portland at a recent protest, and ICE unleashed tear gas on a family protest, and I was like, you can't do that." And what a lot of people said from that day was that, Portland protests had always been very peaceful to them. They thought they could bring their family, and this kind of put a really sour taste in their mouth. And so I think people should bring their kids to protest and teach them, what it means to peacefully do that. But we know that the rules have changed now, and so it's unfortunate that that happened.
That's so awful. I didn't hear about that, and it's not surprising, unfortunately.
He looked at me with a look of surprise in his eyes, and he didn't know. And what I tell my constituents now when I tell that story is that in order for me to fight for you, you need to tell me what's going on. I need to know what your pain is. Do not assume that I know, because I don't think he knew. And I don't know whether he said anything to anybody after that. I know he's a very religiously conservative person, and I believe that he cares about children. I could assume that. And so he may have said something like, "Hey, you know what? This crosses the line." I wish he would say that about some other things, but maybe he said something. But it would have only happened because I told him.
Thank you for that anecdote. I think sometimes with these questions, there's nuance, right? We always say that in politics. I know people don't love to hear it. And with social media, you just want to see what's on your phone and move on. But it is important to have that nuance there. So moving on, politicians who say, air quotes again, family values, but vote against affordable childcare.
Yeah, not hot.
That's an easy one.
Lame.
What about parents who say, I don't have time for politics?
Your landlord has time for politics. Your boss has time for politics. Your bank has time for politics. Your grocery store has time for politics, but you don't have time for politics? Nah.
Love it. Last one, women running for office while parenting.
Yeah. When women ask me about, whether they should run for a position or not, I tell them if they have any sort of caregiving responsibilities, they need to ask for help. And I don't mean from like a family member. I mean, they need to get professional childcare or elder care help, because taking that off of your list of things to worry about, list of things to give you guilt about, is a thing that can make you successful, or it can flop your entire campaign. And so whether that's using Instacart, care.com, an au pair, a full-time daycare, nanny service, any of that, a meal prep service, any of that can really help. And so it's a great thing when women can run, but you need to make sure that you're balancing out all of your responsibilities and doing that without guilt.
Yeah. I love that. One note on that is even we talk about being working moms and all of those things as well. I call it my paid village, my daycare, my babysitter, my HelloFresh, whatever it is to help you just get through the weeks because it's hard parenting and working or running or whatever it is. And sometimes people don't have that like community village around them, but you can create that, right? You can make that.
The community village, it can be flaky. I'm just going to be real with you,
Very true.
right? Because they don't understand that you can't just bring your kid to the interview for the endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can do that once or twice, but is very distracting to have a child that needs you asking you for something while you're trying to, prove that you have the time and energy to put in to representing people. It doesn't give you more street cred. In fact, I think it takes away because you don't know how to ask for help and you don't know how to delegate authority.
That's funny. Somebody recently said that I could bring my toddler somewhere, and they were like, "Just bring crayons." And I was like, "She'll eat them. Like, she can't hold a crayon." Like, I don't know if you've met a child.
That person doesn't have children.
No, no, they don't. And so I was like, "I'm just gonna reschedule because that's an insane suggestion."
Yeah.
Well, Congresswoman Bynum, Janelle, thank you so, so much for joining us. As we kind of wrap here, is there something that gives you hope for 2026? And if there is something, what is it?
I think young people waking up, the best example I can give is like the Vietnam War and voting at 18 and how young people just transformed the fabric of this nation and said, if you're asking me to do this, then you need to meet me halfway. And so I see them coming. Like my 15-year-old son sent me something political last night. He's never done that before. So the kids are waking up, and that gives me hope. And it's why I keep working every day on their behalf.
And where can people follow you, see what you're doing? If we know we have listeners from Oregon here, like where, if they have questions for you, where do they find you?
I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Threads. Gosh, it seems like everywhere.
We'll make sure to tag you. We have our YouTube channel, so people will be able to see you. We'll tag all of those things in our episode. So if you're listening and you are from Oregon, you want to get a hold of your congresswoman, we'll make sure you have the resources to do so.
All right. Thanks a million.
Great. Thank you, Representative. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.